Breaking news coming in. Minister of State PMO Jitendra Singh holds a portfolio of MoS DOPT, has now evaded questions on the crackdown within the CBI. Remember, he is the man in charge. Listen in to this entire sequence.
सर रेड हुई है 10वें 11वें सीबीआई के 10वें 11वें मंजिल पर रेड हुई है सर क्या कहेंगे सर सीबीआई के 10वें 11वें मंजिल पर रेड हुई है सर बताएं सर डायरेक्टर चेंज कर दिए गए सर चेंज कर दिए गए सर बताएं सर बताएं
सर प्लीज सर डायरेक्टर चेंज कर दिए सर
Going across to Rahul Shrivastava, National Affairs Editor India Today, who is with us on this big story. Rahul, the government, and we saw how Jitendra Singh, in fact, evaded questions of journalists as far as this entire CBI drama is concerned. No matter whether we call it a surgical strike or not, Rahul, but the taint or the blot and the questions also reach the doorsteps of the Prime Minister's office as far as this entire squabbling within the CBI is concerned.
Ankit, not having infighting among officers is something which is utopian, and that is why there is always infighting, but usually infighting gets worse at a time when there is too much at stake and there is too much of political interference. Usually that has been the case. We saw that in the times of the UPA, there was tremendous amount of interference and virtual dictation by the government as far as the CBI affairs are concerned. So much so that in the case of Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav, the CBI affidavit was changed 4 times in 2 years. So there has been embarrassment for the CBI because of that. But what happened in the last few days in the CBI is so unprecedented, and it is largely not because 2 officers were merely bickering. It is because 2 strong lobbies were fighting against each other using 2 men in khaki as the fronts. The larger reason is that so much at stake within the CBI right now is that on one hand it is very clear that Mr. Alok Verma was a Supreme Court mechanism appointed tenure protected person. On the other hand, Mr. Asthana was close to the powers that be, and that is where came this, the point of conflict from the time of the appointment of Mr. Asthana. When the CBI director objected, the government overruled. It went to the Supreme Court in 2017 September. Again, the government backed Mr. Asthana. But what was amiss was that there was battle happening over the cases. If you see one outstanding example is what can such battles do is that in November 2015, the lookout circular against Malaya was diluted. And in February 2016, it helped Mr. Malaya to escape. That is largely because somebody in the CBI helped Mr. Malaya. And who was supervising? Nobody till now knows. What we heard that Mr. Asthana was looking into that aspect. The fact remains that Mr. Verma felt that he was being undermined by his junior. The government did not act. Ankit, there were clear signs, especially from April this year. Complaints were flying from this side to the other. Both of them were charging each other with corruption.
Okay.
The government didn't act.
Rahul, stay on with me. In fact, let's just very quickly take our viewers through this information that we will take on the big screen just to make you understand the entire midnight drama that took place, because whatever is happening in the CBI right now is, as we've been using the word again and again and overusing it, is unprecedented. Rahul, in fact, got us this information about what happened in the CBI late last night. Now, this is the mega CBI cleanup, if you want to call it like that, or just, in fact, the damage control mode that the government has gotten in now. Now, at 1 a.m., in fact, the new director goes to the CBI. The senior most CBI officer, Rao, enters the CBI headquarters. This is at 1:15 a.m. In the night. What happens after that? At about 1:30, Rao with CBI sleuths, other officers, seals Director Verma's building offices, and he also seals Rakesh Asthana's office and both the 10th and the 11th floor of the CBI headquarters. Rao then takes custody of the keys of the 11th floor of the CBI headquarters. This is all happening in the national capital, stone throw away from the Prime Minister's office. Now, post that, 1:45, Rao orders changes in prominent CBI teams. He then, in fact, goes on and changes the heads, the investigating officers of prominent teams. What happens post that, after 1:45 that in the morning, then we see both these gentlemen being sent on leave as well. Rahul Srivastav with us. Rahul Srivastav with us as far as this is concerned. Rahul, whether you call it a cleanup operation by the government or as of now the damage control mode that the government is indulging in, the fact remains, as you were pointing out, that it may be utopian as far as the infighting among the officers is concerned, but possibly never has this happened that there is charges of favoritism as far as one officer is concerned, top officer within the CBI, and the government, according to the opposition, is only trying to shield one of these two babus.
Ankit, the question here is, what the opposition says is a political charge. The fact is that there are certain visible elements on the ground which is gross misconduct. Can an agency like the CBI, which is the virtual Indian story of the FBI, have two officers fighting at this level, that one writes to the cabinet secretary saying that my boss is corrupt, he has accepted 2 crore bribes, he's trying to scuttle cases, and no ordinary cases, Ankit. Vijay Malaya, Augusta Westland, Aircel Maxis, every crucial case is under the SIT headed by Mr. Asthana. Then comes a letter to the CVC that my annual report might be spoiled, cases are being impacted, and then steps in the CBI director, and suddenly we find that the accused in the case being handled by Mr. Asthana is now the complainant against Mr. Asthana. There is an FIR registered, the deputy of Mr. Asthana is arrested, Mr. Asthana goes to the court. And what we are told is that on the day when Mr. Asthana was challenging the plea, the arrest stay, was seeking a stay on arrest, on that day, that is Tuesday, 4 a.m., 4 people from the CBI reached Mr. Asthana's house to search his premises. And they stayed there till 4:45 p.m. This close was the CBI number 1 to arresting his number 2. And that is really serious. And if there were charges against Mr. Asthana or Mr. Verma, the government needed to act. Even now, if we look at it, what has happened in the aftermath of the midnight strike by the government, though it seems that perhaps the only solution the government could have arrived at, that the top officials, the first order Mr. Nageshwar Rao passed was sending Mr. A.K. Sharma, who is a joint director, handling the case of Mr. Asthana on leave, Mr. M. Sinha, DIG in the same case, on leave, Mr. Gurum, SP in the same case, on leave, and Ajay Bassi, the investigating officer, on leave, same case. That is why there will be fingers raised. That is why there were fingers being raised.
Right, now the Modi government's mega CBI cleanup has sparked a massive political slugfest. The opposition first closed ranks with the ousted CBI chief Alok Verma and has hit out at the government. Both the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party claim the Modi government illegally axed CBI chief on false charges. Activist and senior Supreme Court lawyer Prashant Bhushan slammed the government, in fact claiming that the CBI chief has a fixed tenure of 2 years under Lokpal provisions. Bhushan is now moving Supreme Court against the removal of the CBI chief. All right, my colleague Pooja Shali caught up with Prashant Bhushan on his move to the Supreme Court. Listen in.
Central Bureau of Investigation has now turned into an ugly scene of political infighting, it seems. I'm joined by Advocate Prashant Bhushan. And sir, are you going to challenge it legally? You know, we wake up in the morning to know that the director is gone, special director is gone. What is left of this investigative body?
No, it's the sacking or the removal of the director is certainly totally illegal. The Supreme Court had protected the CBI director from government's power of removal or appointment by saying that the appointment should be made by a collegium of the Chief Justice, Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition. That's how he was appointed. And he can only be removed prematurely. He has a fixed tenure, which is till the end of January. He can only be removed prematurely or even sent on leave prematurely by the same appointing committee. if there are disciplinary proceedings against him. But he can't be removed in the manner in which the government has done, and they have appointed an officer with a totally dubious reputation.
You're referring to Asthana here, the special director?
They had appointed Asthana, who had a dubious reputation and against whom...
Why would you say that, sir? Those are serious allegations.
Asthana, there are 6 cases being investigated by the CBI itself against him. Very, very serious cases. But even this new gentleman who has been appointed...
Nageshwar Rao, who's been the interim director.
Yes, he also has a very dubious reputation.
Why
There
would
were
you say
several complaints against him. Just read my tweet just now.
written on, yes.
Yes, his assets were found to be totally dubious. He has purchased, or his wife has purchased, a whole lot of land from totally dubious sources, etc. So therefore, this is an attempt by the government to not only protect Asthana, but to prevent investigation of the Rafale deal by the CBI, of which we had given a complaint.
You and a few others, Arun Shourie and others had made a complaint. Are you saying, sir, that Asthana, that Alok Verma, the director, was trying to consider your complaint and that's why action has been taken?
Yes, the government expressed its unhappiness or distress about the director even meeting us when we went to present that complaint. Obviously, the government was very, very concerned and worried about the CBI starting an investigation into the Rafale deal, and that also seems to be one of the reasons behind his hasty midnight removal.
But sir, it seems the Vigilance Commission had a late night meeting and that it was decided that at this juncture both these top post members need to go, so that probably an investigator which is more independent can be done.
The Vigilance Commission has no authority over the director CBI, at least to remove him. They have no such authority. Secondly, the Vigilance Commission, we had already pointed out, is itself unfortunately manned by very dubious persons.
Are you calling it illegal, sir?
Yes, totally illegal.
Sir, so how are you planning to challenge it,
We will be challenging it in the Supreme Court.
Okay.
It will...
Breaking news coming in, and this only now puts the entire dirty linen which has been washed in public as far as the CBI is concerned in much more spotlight. Alok Verma, the director CBI who has been asked to go on leave, has filed a plea to quash the orders to remove him from the post of CBI director. He says the law is violated, removing him. Alok Verma removal challenge before the Supreme Court will be heard on Friday. This is a big story which is coming in right now. Let me go across to Anisha Mathur, my colleague who is joining me for more on this story. All right, we'll just be going to Anisha in a short while from now, but very, very important now, Alok Verma, the director of CBI who has been asked to go on leave, is taking on the government as far as his removal is concerned. So now the battle lines are drawn. It's very clear confrontation now between the government and, of course, the CBI chief who has been asked to go on leave. Going across to my colleague Anisha Mathur, who is joining me for more. Anisha, this is going to be a big hearing because now it is the CBI chief versus the government openly in the court.
Well, yes, Ankit, this is going to be a very, very crucial hearing on Friday when the Supreme Court takes this up. Alok Verma, who has been asked to go on leave, who's been removed from the position of the CBI director, has challenged not only he's challenged the CVC order which recommended his removal, the DOPT order by which he has been sent on leave, as well as the appointment of Nagaraj as an acting CBI director. So all of these issues are going to be raised before the Supreme Court, which has agreed to hear this matter on Friday. We are seeing that this entire CBI versus CBI conflict is now going to be playing out in the courts, with yesterday Rakesh Asthana and Jitendra Kumar moving the High Court, and today Alok Verma, the CBI director who's been removed from his position, has moved the Supreme Court of India, saying that laws were violated in passing this order, that he as the CBI director could not have been removed in the manner that has been done. It is complete violation of the existing laws and rules, and the Supreme Court has agreed to hear this matter on Friday now.
Anisha, thank you so much for joining us with all those details. Munish Pandey also joins me live for more on this story. Munish, now the CBI chief Alok Verma, who has been sent on a leave by the government, challenging the government's order in the Supreme Court. This is not going to die, or this is not going to let business be as usual in the CBI.
Yeah, well, Ankit, it seems that even after both the CBI chiefs have been sent on leave, it seems that the things will still be murkier with every passing day. Now, Alok Verma has decided to go before the Supreme Court for the questioning of order. He says that it is illegal order and he cannot be sent on leave like this. So now the matter will be heard in Supreme Court on Friday, but it seems that the fight between Rakesh Asthana and Alok Verma, and now Alok Verma versus government, will continue. As far as the CBI is concerned, there are still searches going on at the 11th floor where Alok Verma and Rakesh Asthana has their offices. The officers are conducting searches in their offices. The sensitive documents have been seized. The officer who was conducting the investigation in Rakesh Asthana case, that is Mr. Ajay Bassi, he has been summoned by the interim director, Mr. Nageshwar Rao. So there are a lot of happenings within the Central Bureau of Investigation. But as you rightly pointed out, Ankit, that it seems that this is not going to die. This infighting is not going to die, and Alok Verma has decided to take on the government now.
Alok Verma's tenure, remember, is till January next year. And he is now taking on the government as far as him being asked to go on leave. Very important, this development, this big breaking news that is coming in. He is going to challenge this in the court. So all the people concerned, as far as the three big names which have come out so far, Alok Verma, the director of the CBI, he's going to the Supreme Court against being sent on leave by the government, and also about an interim director of the CBI being appointed. On the other hand, Rakesh Asthana already has approached the High Court, calling it malified intention, calling it harassment at the hands of his boss. He approached the High Court yesterday. And there is another Deputy Superintendent of Police, Jitendra Singh, who was arrested by the CBI. He's in fact seen as a member of the team which was investigating the Moin Qureshi case. He was under Rakesh Asthana. He has been arrested. He has also approached the court. So now there'll be legal battles to every step as far as the CBI is concerned. Now, let's very quickly on this very aspect about removal of the CBI chief, about him being sent on leave. I earlier spoke to Abhishek Manu Singhvi, the spokesperson of the Congress party and senior lawyer, who in fact said that the government possibly has overstepped when they have sent him on leave. Listen in to what Abhishek Manu Singhvi told us.
This is an absolute terrible can of worms. It's a legal can of worms. It's a political can of worms. And the government is now in a morass. It is now clueless. First of all, after a Hawala judgment, after a Lokpal judgment, after changes in the rules and procedures, I appoint you precisely to insulate you and autonomize you by a Chief Justice of India committee, a LOP committee, and a Prime Minister's committee. How, I am asking you, can you be removed, sacked, or de facto rendered non-functional by being sent on leave? How?
It seems that removal of Verma or stripping him off of all his powers is with a view to prevent further exposure, which would have embarrassed the government. And I think the exposure would have certainly created sensation even for the government. And that is why it seems that the government has tried to abort the whole exercise by sacking him out.
It is the best move that if the CVC also concurs with this decision, the best thing is to have both the director and the special director removed from their posts, an interim director appointed, the allegations and counter allegations fully probed, and then a decision taken who will head the agency.
What is happening today has never even been brought. I mean, CBI has faced, I was in CBI for about 10 years. CBI has faced political interference, either successfully or unsuccessfully, both. Sometimes politicians have been successful, but if CBI officer, top officials have assisted it, they have not been successful. The Supreme Court also has intervened on the coal scam case, as you know. The law minister had to go. So, but never like this, that this sort of an internal fight coming out in open between the top two, the director and the CBI, special director. It has never happened before.
Thanks Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.